Hello everyone. Today we're gonna do another team review. It's gonna be me basically talking, reviewing one of your replays. To just do a quick recap, what we talked about with you guys before in our offline review. I sent you a few notes. I think it was some weeks ago. We talked about how important it is to synchronize pressure together as a team and be on the same page. That is the essential of the team play. What we talked about before is to be able to synchronize the pressure is you could be playing around your big cooldowns. It could be defensive, offensive cooldowns. It could also be something like your ultimate. Using communication is pretty important too. Just trying to call out something like 3, 2, 1, let's push together, let's just contribute to the same area, maybe trying to synchronize with your tank as well. That is something what can be pretty useful when you're trying to be on the same page. And today, I actually want to talk about the same idea. Main idea is gonna be how to be on the same page, synchronize pressure together. But I'm gonna talk about that topic through the lens of Killzone or Killbox. So the first exercise, which is really important, first idea which you can try to implement in your game is simply try to contribute to the area where most of you guys can be active. Be really effective with your damage and with your cooldowns. And this is exactly what the kill zone is. If you see over here, this red area is where it seems like most of your team is able to be active with their cooldowns, with their damage. So we have this angle A, Tracer, we have this angle B, Lucio and Echo. This angle C is Hog, and there is another angle in the back. It's your Ana. Let's just call it angle D over there on the high ground. All of those angles are able to apply relatively fine pressure towards this area. Okay. Now, what your idea is make sure you maximize value of your damage and your abilities. Now, if you look at this, what the kill zone is based on, well, first thing what it's based on is your range. It's the range of the characters, it's the range at what they like to fight. For example, if you look at the Tracer, she's a relatively short range character. Something like Lucio and Echo, at the end, you want to get close with those characters. For Echo, you could be just beaming down the target, you could be trying to use the bombs in addition, go for that kind of combo. Hog, on the other hand, is more poke style, longer range characters because of his hook, because you're just able to hook the enemy from far and drag them in your kill zone area. And Ana is relatively long range character too. So this is something what you would like to use more. Those kind of long range angles you would like to hold more. And another thing is you want to look at is angles. What kind of angles you taking on the character? And this is more about understanding, do you guys stack? Do you play closer to most of your teammates? Or can you take deeper angles? Usually, if you have more mobility, for example, something like Tracer, you have more mobility. That's why typically you would like to take deeper angles. You would like to go somewhere more flanky. That's what I would like to call a lot of times 90 to 180 angles. Somewhere over here is pretty fine. And if you don't have as much mobility for characters like Hog, or maybe Cassidy, or maybe even Ana, you typically would like to take soft angles closer to your team. It does not mean that you cannot take off angles or flanks. You're still able to do that if there's opportunity. It's just there's a tendency that you do that less, I think. And if we could see here, if we break it down, what are we missing? If we just look through perspective of those two ideas, I think the range is relatively fine. The range at angle B, A is okay. However, I don't like the angles you guys are taking. As we could see, some of you I think the angle D, for instance, you could be trying to position somewhere around here. Or maybe just using the statue. Why is that better? Because we want to see most of this area with our angle. We want to contribute our nade. We want to contribute our sleep dart. Where here, you're not able to see that area fully. This position could be okay, but only if the kill zone is somewhere over here, over there. But currently, most of your teammates, they would like to attack this area, so you cannot be that far. And same about your hog. You cannot use this angle because you need to drag the enemy in. You would like to typically be somewhere over here. This is a pretty good corner. Maybe over here, because you're not a brawl tank. You want to just drag the enemy in towards the angle. And that's why this is what gets you killed. This is one of the specifics why you guys are getting killed. Okay? I think we're just gonna start with this first idea, making sure the range and angles are constantly in place. And later, we're gonna add more layers. We're gonna add more layers towards all those topics, and I'm gonna give you more examples. We'll go back to that first fight, even, to just give you more examples. Okay, the next fight is coming in. This is more chaotic because you have to touch the point, which is reasonable. Joanna is gonna touch the point, but the ideas are the same. Angles and range. We could see the Tracer is taking deeper angle. This is fine. Echo, you could also try to lean towards some sort of verticality if possible. Take slightly deeper angle because you have mobility. If you can, lean towards those high grounds later, eventually. Or maybe over here as well. Just starting out on this high ground can be relatively better. As Anna, you don't have as much mobility, but you're a long range character, so eventually you would lean towards the long range. Where could you be is maybe somewhere around here. Again, why is because we're contributing to the kill zone, and kill zone is somewhere around here. This is your area, okay? And if you're able to implement it better, then you would not put yourself in danger too much and you would be able to be more effective. And that's why you could see most likely the Sana is gonna die, I think. There are also other specifics. For example, your Tracer, there's a micro. Something you can pay attention to is making sure when you're not overcommitting. When you use your recall, you typically want to play more defensive, try to use cover, try to lean towards some sort of HP pack, maybe go back towards your flank. But those are specifics, those are micro things, and I would like to pay attention more towards the macro, towards the bigger picture. Okay, this fight ended. Let's look at the next one. Again, same ideas, angles and range. Are we using it correctly? Are we setting up at the best positions possible and just contributing? All of you guys, are you in the same place? So it's really good that you guys are regrouping. Most likely you're gonna fight for this corner now. The Tracer, you have decent angle. Chunka Queen going for the short range angle, and you also don't have as much mobility, so this kind of position is quite fine. However, Echo, I think I have some concerns. Probably you could try to set up a little bit closer, maybe use one of those high grounds over here. Maybe you can even try to lean towards this one later. It would be difficult during the fight, or, well, before the fight especially, but that is something you want to aim for. Just use an additional verticality, maybe even over here. We can just try to sit, try to just go towards the enemy and get closer. And there's something like your Ana and Zenyatta also want to be careful. Don't get too close. I think those kind of angles are relatively fine. Using those kind of long range angles can work. But let's see. Let's see how the fight's gonna go. So from killzone perspective, it seems like we're doing fine. However, your killzone always changes. During the fight, you might just push up or go back depending on the situation. And this is something what everyone should watch out for. Well, first of all, to be able to set up the best position possible, if everyone knows where the kill zone is, then it's easier to set up. It's easier to understand where to be based on this idea. But even later, when we're trying to make a push, maybe make certain call-outs. Everybody should be on the same page and understand that we pushing the exact kill zone area, because if you are missing some of those resources, if you're not in place to do the pressure, it's gonna be really tough. For example, here, we can see that your Ana is kind of in the back, where the rest of your teammates, they're doing pressure. And this is something what you wanna pay attention to. Make sure you synchronize your pressure more. Of course, it's also important to fight something like flanker, but first of all, most of your attention should go towards the kill zone area. While you're fighting the flanker, you could also try to contribute to the effective kill zone. Okay, I'm thinking now it might be good to introduce second idea, which is pretty important, and it's gonna be more advanced. But we're using the same ideas as we discussed before. It's just about your range and about your angles which you're using. Because kill zone is the area where you can do most of your effective pressure. You can also think about how to set up higher quality kill zones based on those two variables, based on the range and angles. And even in the first fight, I'm just gonna introduce you this. I think you guys gonna, yeah, let's just see where you're set up. So you set up in the choke here and trying to fight, but you could have a better, higher quality kill zone. To be honest, a lot of it is all about experimentation to me. If you're able to experiment as a team, try to see what works, what not, I think this is really good. But in here, if we're looking for higher quality kill zone, what is that about? Well, it's just, again, about setting up better range and better angles. Okay? And to be able to do that, you need to look at the kit of your characters. And this is something what I mentioned before. I didn't like some of the characters where you guys been set up, but it's just been based on the exact area where most of you guys are attacking. If you choose to fight the spawn, it's extreme example. I want everyone to be able to fight the spawn. But obviously we know that it's not as effective. We know that this is not as high a quality kill zone compared to fighting over here. That's why people set up around those chokes. But even in here, you guys could be doing it better. So let's try to break it down. Where could everyone be and why? So I'm thinking, because Hog is a long range character, more trying to drag the enemy in, maybe trying to play around this statue, let's call it angle A, could be reasonable, or leaning towards the left over here. What about Echo? I'm thinking maybe trying to set up around angle B, because you as Echo, you really like to have some additional verticality. Your character has verticality, so you need to abuse that, set up the angle where it's possible for you to have it. Lucio, pretty mobile, can be anywhere pretty much, but one of those angles, playing around B or statue A, is reasonable depending on the situation. You can go from one place to another. And Ana, I'm thinking this position, let's call it D, could be okay if your kill zone, if everybody is already setting up like A and B, because your kill zone will be somewhere over here or maybe over here. That position could be okay, actually. This position in the back could be just fine. But if you know that you get a push, then probably leaning towards this, let's call it D1, could be even better. And your tracer, I think keeping this hotel is pretty reasonable. If I call this angle C, just trying to set up, go towards this area, one yellow over here, second yellow over here, could also be fine. We're just talking about higher quality corners, higher quality kill zones based on your kit, based on everybody's kit, okay? And that is what you can implement every fight, I think. You can always be mindful about this concept. So watch the second fight, talked about a few stuff. Let's just give you more examples. Yeah, I think we're just gonna chase the Sombra, gonna push her out, and now. Now it's the time. Now it's the time to start the pressure, and let's just find out, do we have the highest quality kill zone setup? Well, we do. We have some sort of kill zone setup, right? We still could say this is the area where my team can be active with the damage. Everybody can pretty much shoot this area. But to be able to have a higher quality kill zone, we could potentially have, well, to just give us an example, we could have this tracer set up angle A. Maybe your Echo could be trying to set up on those vertical angles in this area. Your Junker Queen could just keep playing C. And Anna, I'm thinking about this D angle. Everybody got good pressure towards this. Everybody this way got good effective range and good angle to use, depending on their ability. This is what I think. There could be also different story. Let's just try to set up different kill zone. It could be somewhere over here. Because the kill zone is not straightforward. It's not that you only have one choice. You could have different choices, 1,000 different fights you could have. And this is completely fine. The fundamentals are stay the same though. So let's say we're trying to set up in this area, we're trying to fight towards that corner. Well, in this case, our Tracer could be setting up angle A. Maybe our Echo still could be sneaking around angle B, and the rest of your team, you could just lean in more back. I think your Junker Queen could play angle D here. Let's call it angle D. And your Anna, I'm thinking this angle could also work, or maybe angle in the back D could also be relatively fine, I think. But this is something you want to think about, because there's no one straight answer. This is something what you can always discuss as a team. Because if everyone understands where the kill zone is, they can set up. But it seems like there's maybe not as much talking about where you guys like to fight, or maybe you guys talk about where you fight, but there's no clear direction. Maybe there's no clear direction. Maybe someone, they do not understand where they should be based on this. But typically, this is the issue with planning. This is the issue with the planning where we're taking a fight. So it seems like the enemy kind of staggering. They just pushed in for no reason. They pushed up with the Reaper. They TP'd for no reason, and you got him. And same about the Sombra. This is really nice. Also using Armator ultimate for no reason too, where they don't need to. And this is looking good. Potentially, you can even have your kill zone set up over here. Why not? We could also try to fight towards their spawn. And this one can also depend on your resources. Something we talked about in our sessions before. Something we talked about, it's your ultimates. It's what kind of ultimates you guys have, so it's easy for you to set up the pressure. That's why it's important to call out, what do we start the fight with? If we start the fight with the Nano, well, maybe you could still try to fight towards their spawn or towards this area. We could just Nano Echo, or we could Nano Junker Queen later, depending on your plan. But because you know that information, your kill zone can change. Your kill zone area can change. Let's see what you guys do. So Sombra dies, the enemy starts walking, we punish the Ramatra, they stagger one more time, so this is really good for you. But they really did synchronize pressure there. Now this is the time where you can push slightly more, actually, because your kill zone now, you can truly well set up around this area. You can poke them a little bit more. You can try to have your Tracer somewhere over here. Your Echo could push deeper over here. Your Anna with Zenyatta could stay over there, and Junker Queen push this corner. This is completely fine. The kill zone always changes depending on how the fight is going. If you're winning the fight, your kill zone pushes forward. If you're losing the fight, then we can give up some space typically. Okay. So, see, there's some difficulty. You have a lot of ultimates, but it seems that we're not as proactive towards the kill zone. Maybe there's no clear direction again where our kill zone is. Your Tracer basically says that let's push now. Let's just try to do something. Let's go for the pool swarm, and they got a kill. But what about everybody else? Are you guys ready to actively fight towards this area? So it seems like for Junker Queen is a little bit too far back. Your Zenyatta is really close, trying to just push this Ramatra. Again, it's all about where do you guys fight. Because if you fight towards here, then the rest of you guys should be closer. Like Anna, Oh well, Jungle Queen could be playing closer corner here. Zenyatta could be playing long range corner over here with Ana as well, and your Echo could be setting up somewhere around here or around there. But if we're not committing the ultimate over here, and we're just trying to commit it towards here, then that would be a different setup. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to emphasize. Everybody should be on the same page. If you fight towards certain area, then make sure the resources can be capitalized on. This what might become difficult because you guys have so many resources, but it seems there is some sort of desync with our pressure. Okay, what about the next fight? The Jungle Queen uses her ultimate, just tries to push towards this corner over here. Let's just try to break it down again. So, ultimate goes over here, goes towards this corner. Who can actively use that? Well, at first, it seems that using Yara, they have a pretty decent angle. They have a pretty decent long range angle. I would not say the same about Echo. That would be pretty tough for Echo to do something. Same about Tracer. And I think your Ana got relatively fine position. This is pretty creative because you're coming from a back, but this could work because you could try to follow up. Yeah, and maybe this can outweigh that the rest of your guys are not being active. But I highly recommend to be able to synchronize pressure together. If someone is not able to do something, then invest your time in setup. Invest your time in getting the better position possible. So, for example, your Chunk Queen could simply, well, the one solution is simply wait for the rest of the team to set up, or even better, in my opinion, because as a tank you have to take space, is just move towards the next corner first. Try to move and take space, try to maybe go somewhere over here, or try to go somewhere over here, and make the enemy team to push you, bait them to push you. This is big thing when trying to use your resources. Just make sure the enemies are using their resources first, and then later you can punish the enemy with your own resources. And in here, it seems a little bit rushed because of it, because we walked out in the open. You have to typically walk from one cover to next cover, try to walk from one corner to another, so this way it's gonna be easier. Because see, it's really hard for the rest of your team to catch up with you, yeah? The Ana, they have decent angle, but what about Tracer? What about Echo? They have to invest all of their abilities, and watch that. There's only one blink left. They also have recall, so this is might be okay. But for Echo, for instance, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to close the distance. I really like proactivity though, but be careful when trying to set up, when try to fight instantly. This is something what you can do, but be on the same page. Make sure everybody is ideally able to contribute. This is something what sometimes you maybe heard that term is when you have a big advantage, when you can just try to rush in the enemy. It's typically when you're using some sort of ultimate, you can try to quickly engage and get in. Quickly engage and get in and ignore the setup in this case. But it seemed like some of your teammates have been not ready to do that. For example, your Echo. Yeah, your Echo was not ready. But this is something what you guys can discuss more. I like this setup. Again, we're breaking it down to the concept of angles and range. Overall, this is decent setup. Your Chunka Queen, she has the short range angle in this area. However, your Zenyatta, they do not have the long range angle. If your killzone is over here, then your Zenyatta, well, maybe they should be somewhere over here. Maybe even taking top is also decent. Your Ana, for instance, could also take a similar angle, and Echo could also have verticality over here. We could also try to just go in the back, sometimes be more creative. If there's no enemy, just go in the back this way, or maybe use this kind of high ground, just get closer this way too. But because this is really close, it's easy to rush for the enemy. Not using effective range there, for sure. Okay. You guys have to be careful when you're missing the member. You can still push, which is really reasonable. That was fine overall. but be careful. Now when you have an advantage, you can take even more space, try to set... But yeah, I think first priority is always making sure you set up your angles first. You set up your pressure first. Okay? The fight is over. Okay. Let's break down the next segment by using similar ideas. We're gonna be using similar ideas and make sure you implement those. Let's see how that goes. Angles and range. Angles and range. Okay, so your composition. I just go back because you use your centipede. You're trying to get close. You're trying to get to the better positions, which is respectable, I think. Why not? Yeah, just trying to clear that high ground first, and then later you can set up your own pressure towards that choke. Towards the choke over here. Okay, let's see how that goes. And see, this is exactly what you want to be careful with. Once you done the pressure, and before you guys been saying that, well, let's try to attack this area. Yeah, let's just try to push this hotel. Let's just clear that. This is your kill zone in a way. This is your just area which you would like to push. But later, you start pushing the next area. You start pushing the next area over here. And this is where it's important for you to just try to set up one more time. Just try to stabilize a little bit more. And synchronize your pressure again. Because once the push is over, you see how everybody starts pushing. Your Junker Queen pushes in, tries to take this space and use a shout. But what about everybody else? Are you guys able to be active with your damage, with your effective range, and angles? So this angle A, they're not set up yet. This angle is just getting closer. The other guys, I think your Anne and Zenyatta, they are more in the back as well. They are more in the hotel. Yeah, they're over here, which is not allowing them to do the active pressure either. And see how difficult it is. Yeah, using Yara is also in the spawn, which is... It might work, but now you push in this area where you have to get closer. Usually with a projectile character, you have to make sure you fight more medium range angles. At least as in Yara, you fight more medium range angles, in my opinion. And something what might be useful is, again, try to communicate together. Try to just maybe establish certain communication where you say 3 to 1, let's push that area. 3 to 1, let's try to push. And you can call out the location, and this is exactly going to be your kill zone. Let's try to push around the statue, behind the statue, or let's try to push this choke here, or that choke over there. You can establish your own communication, but once everyone's ready, once they can be active with their resources, you can go and use your own resources too. Because this is what happens. To just break it down to Junker Queen perspective, if you use Shout now, the enemy have a choice to just kite and do nothing. And most of your team, they're not able to take advantage in this area. They're not able to do damage in this area. And that's why you have to pull back. And now when you have to pull back, and even when your team is set up, some of your members are set up, you're just not able to push forward comfortably. Yeah, we still capitalize. I think your Tracer are doing quite well in the backline. They capitalize a lot out of those 1v1s and taking advantage of those picks, which is really, really good. But the rest of your team before, if the enemy played better, that would be pretty difficult to break through. Okay, let's watch the next area. You guys about to set up the pressure on the street. Let's see how that goes. So, your Chunkaroon is pushing up, taking space, and the Tracer as well. Chunkaroon dies, but it's okay because you got a trade. You have better spawn advantage, you have a better spawn over here, and your teammate, they can come back faster. Where enemy team, it's gonna take more time for them. So pretty much just kind of roll them at this point. Yeah, there's not much to say, I would say, in terms of angles and effective range yet. Let's see how the next fight is gonna go. Okay, and now, when we're trying to set up the fight towards that area, where we could be, what we could do. Well, in my opinion, if you're fighting towards this area, I think having your Junker Queen set up around here, it's okay. Your Echo setting up on one of those high grounds, I think it's either going above this building or where she is going inside over here is fine. Tracer is looking for this kind of pressure, but you have to also synchronize with one of your ultimates. Maybe try to farm it. It would be something like Copy or your Junker Queen ultimate as well. You can even think about using your Transcendence more proactively if something goes wrong. This fight is going relatively fine for you. You take advantage of that and win, which is nice. Okay, I'm thinking I'm gonna end this review now. Mostly, to just summarize, we talked about your effective range and angles, taking better positions where it's easier for you to set up effective range, taking positions where it's easier to set up angles, and it's purely based on your characters. It's purely based on what you're playing. And something what we talked about in addition to is, depending on situation, you have to push in or give up space. Push in, give up space, because killzone is always gonna change. Killzone area can change, and if you have an advantage, typically that translates to your team pushing in, and if there's other way around, then you give up space. Typically, you try to set up an advantage. This is usually what it's about. I think we're gonna have the next video. I probably wanna message one of your members and make sure you send me another replay code where we can talk about the other specifics too. Maybe just elaborate on this kind of theme which I discussed today. But so far that's it. I'm gonna end the recording and I will see everyone later in the next part.